We often assume that bad decisions are caused by a lack of information or intelligence, but in reality, having more information does not always lead to better decisions. Some of the most serious failures in history were made by highly educated and experienced groups. These were not careless people, and they were not uniformed. The real problem was not what they knew, but how they thought together. When the desire to agree becomes stronger than the desire to think critically, group decisions can go wrong. This phenomenon is known as groupthink. In 1972, social psychologist Irving Janis introduced the concept of groupthink. Janis was interested in understanding why intelligent and experienced groups sometimes make irrational decisions. He described groupthink as a mode of thinking that occurs in highly cohesive groups. In these groups, members value harmony, unity, and agreement. Over time, the desire for consensus becomes more important than critical evaluation. Group members stop questioning whether a decision is actually correct. Instead, they focus on maintaining agreements and avoiding conflict. According to Janis, this is where group decisions making starts to become dangerous. Groupthink is not a single behavior, but a pattern of symptoms that appear during group decisions making. One of the most common symptoms is self-censorship. Individuals may suppress doubts or alternative ideas to avoid standing out or creating tension. Another key symptom is pressure to comfort. This pressure doesn't need to be explicit. It often appears through silence or repeated agreements. Over time, silence is mistaken for agreement, creating an illusion of unanimity. Group members may believe that everyone thinks the same, even when internal doubts still exist. Together, these symptoms reduce critical thinking and make flawed decisions more likely. But groupthink doesn't only occur in traditional face-to-face groups. Most classic studies on groupthink focused on face-to-face interactions. Today, however, many group decisions are made online. Online environments change how people interact with each other. Non-verbal cues such as facial expressions and body language are reduced. At the same time, group preferences often become visible instantly. Seeing others' responses in real time can increase social pressure. This raises an important question. Can groupthink still emerge in small online groups? To explore this, we designed a simple online experiment. The experiment was conducted through an online meeting using Google Meet. The analysis focused on two naive participants whose responses were examined across experimental conditions. Additional group members were present to establish a social decision-making environment. All participants were university students who had no prior knowledge of groupthink or crowd psychology. The goal was to observe how visibility of group opinions influences individual decision-making. The experiments consisted of 2 rounds under different social conditions. In the first round, participants answered individually using an anonymous online form. They couldn't see others' answers, and no discussion was allowed. Several decision-making questions were included to create a realistic context and to help participants form confident individual judgments. However, only one key question was intentionally designed to examine groupthink under social pressure. The other questions served as baseline and warm-up tasks and were not analyzed individually. At the end of the first round, participants will also asked to report how they felt while making their decisions. This question was included to confirm that the initial decisions were made under low social pressure. This round served as a baseline, representing personal judgment without social influence. In the second round, participants were asked to submit their answers publicly through the group chat. The question itself remained the same, only the social environment changed. In the first round, participants made their decisions individually. At this stage, they had no information about how others were responding. There's no discussion and no visible group opinion. As a result, responses reflected personal judgment rather than social influence. Both participants selected the option that emphasized long-term strategy and sustainable value and indicate confidence in their initial judgments. The next phase introduced a different social context. In the second round, the decision-making environment changed. Participants were no longer responding anonymously. Instead, they were asked to submit their answers publicly through the group chats. Very quickly, a clear majority began to form around a different option. This created a strong group signal about which answer seemed correct. Although no one explicitly told others what to choose, social pressure became visible. Going against the group now required standing out publicly. This is the exact condition in which groupthink tends to emerge. And this shift in social context had a direct impact on behavior. As the public vote accumulated, a change in behavior became observable. One participant changed their original decisions to align with the group majority. Importantly, the question itself remained exactly the same. Only the social context had changed. This suggests that the change was not driven by new information. Instead, it was driven by the visibility of group opinion. This pattern closely matched what groupthink theory predicts. However, behavioral change is only part of the story. Groupthink doesn't only affect what people do, it also affects how people feel when the opinion differs from the group. After the experiment, participants completed a short reflection survey. Notably, this pressure was present even when participants didn't visibly change their decision. This shows that groupthink can operate internally without obvious behavior change.
I'm okay, I'm fine. Kinchana, Kinchana, ding, 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 ding. Ku menahan rasa sakit, angin tuh.
The discomfort of disagreeing with the majority is a key psychological mechanism behind groupthink. These emotional effects help explain why groupthink can be so powerful. The results of these experiments can be explained through several key groupthink mechanisms. First, the group was small, which made individual differences more visible. When a majority formed quickly, it sent a strong social signal. Disagreeing now required publicly standing against the group. This situation encouraged self-censorship, even without direct pressure. Tribal tendencies may further reinforce conformity by discouraging outsider behavior. Importantly, this experiment shows that online environments are not immune to groupthink. The observed patterns closely align with the Irving Janis original theory. These insights have important implications beyond these experiments. The implications of groupthink extend far beyond these small experiments. In organizational and crowd-related contexts, decisions are often made under time pressure and social visibility. In such environments, individuals may hesitate to voice concerns or alternative viewpoints. Silence can be misinterpreted as agreement, allowing flawed decisions to go unchallenged. Groupthink increases risk by suppressing early warning and critical feedback. In crowd management, this can delay corrective action during critical moments. Understanding groupthink helps explain why problems are sometimes recognized too late. This makes awareness of groupthink essential for safer decision-making. This experiment demonstrates that groupthink can emerge even in small, low-stakes online settings. It doesn't require large crowds, authority figures, or high-pressure situations. Simply making group opinions visible is enough to create social pressure. This pressure can influence both the behavior and internal emotional states by observing both decision changes and emotional responses. This experiment captures key mechanisms of groupthink. These findings help explain why groups sometimes fail to challenge flawed decisions in real-world contexts. Recognizing groupthink is the first step towards creating safer and more effective group decision-making environments. Because sometimes, the most dangerous decisions are the ones that everyone agrees on. Silence doesn't always mean agreement.